get absorbed in, and you are Sonic.
What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor Olmstead, and I want to welcome you back to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. Joining me are my co-hosts Tyler Reed.
Hey, everybody.
And Sean Evans.
Hey.
Lots of energy this week. We're in week 3 of social isolation. It's really bringing the mood down, so we're here to bring your mood up with this week's songs. Tyler, what was our challenge?
Hey, everybody. This week we were challenged to find the perfect song for learning something new, sent in by hip shooter Michael Kostick. And if you want to submit your own challenge, you can email us at norepeatpod@gmail.com, or you can always hit us up on the socials as norepeatpod on Instagram or Twitter.
I really liked this challenge because it was giving us a direction but keeping things pretty vague. I feel like we've been a little specific lately, so it was nice to have just a song for doing a new thing, starting something new, learning something new, just doing new things. And I've seen a lot of people out in the world starting up some new hobbies as we go into social distancing, and it felt like a good time to look into just kind of this feeling of newness. We're in a new world, a new social reality. It seemed kind of fun. Have you guys started anything new since the quarantine times have begun? Any new projects or anything?
Yeah, I started this 30-day photo challenge, and I've had mixed success with it. There are some challenges that I'm like, yes, this is so good. I just had like 10 photographs that I really like. And then there are other days like today where I took like 40, and I just picked one, and I was like, I'm going to make this one work.
It's okay, Sean. I've done 2 challenges in the last couple months, and I can say that doesn't get any easier. Literally, you're never going to ever try to create anything and not have just some big, massive, like, roadblock, whether it be, like, you're trying to, like, push yourself a little bit more, like, you're trying to, like, adapt. You're like, okay, I'm tired of doing the same thing. Let's try to do that. And you're like, no, I don't really like this direction. It's too hard. You know, I gotta find the balance. And then sometimes you just get bored of it. There's an infinite amount of things that can happen. So...
Oh, no, I totally get it. I honestly found myself looking back on the days that I have success and kind of thinking like, oh, that was good. That was good. And honestly, I come out of these kind of thing and I'm like, I feel like I'm a little bit better at photography because of it. Like I kind of understand how to, because even the ones that I don't like that much, it's more so like understanding how do I not do that, right? Like how do I avoid doing that particular thing? And I get it. I think some of it's cool, you know, but at the same time, I think there's other like more cinematographic is the word, right? There's more cinematographic qualities that I would rather have in my photography than like Instagrammable portrait-esque things. But still, I see what you're doing on the IG, Tyler.
I don't actually know what that means. Do you mean because I create all of my images in a square with the intent exclusively for posting on Instagram? That's correct.
No. I mean, I see what your like little challenges that you try and
Sure.
do, and I did one this week with you because I was, you know, trying to be a little bit more inspired myself. That person didn't hit me back up when I like directly added them, but whatever.
They had a lot of people that submitted to that.
Yeah,
this isn't going to be.
That's
in the show.
Exactly right. Rolling my eyes.
What about you, Tyler? Are you starting anything new?
So I decided to use a second email to use on Skillshare because I signed up for the 2 free months before and just kind of let that slide right on by. So I went ahead and tried it again. I took a class on illustrating the human body in a more expressive way, in a fun, illustrative way. And so, you know, like my body of work is more or less kind of wiggly, squiggly, kind of loose illustration anyway. But specifically like kind of like being challenged to do explicitly the human form and kind of really apply like just kind of like setting certain kind of rules is always kind of a challenge. So I've made my way about halfway, like more than halfway through it. I've basically completed it more or less. But I definitely experienced a lot of like roadblocks that I was kind of like, oh, this is really rough. And I really had to just like let myself be okay with kind of like struggling with it, because I think the thing is like, sure, I'm watching a video of the guy do it, but he's literally teaching the class. And if I create the thing as quickly as he is doing a demo of it, then obviously it's not that hard to begin with anyway. So I think the struggle of that is like to be aware that to be like, I'm going to struggle. That is part of the process. It's like a college professor is going to do the same thing. They're going to show you, oh, look, I did this in like 5 seconds, but like they've probably done it a million times. So I've had to be very careful, like very gentle with myself, just to like push myself, but not like get super upset if things don't come out exactly the way I want.
I'm glad that you're both talking about these like things you're excited about doing that are new, but also the roadblocks, because I'm feeling kind of the same way. I took our extended spring break while the university was closed, and then my newfound downtime now that I'm working from home, and I've decided on the topic for my master's thesis and actually just got my thesis advisor put in place, which is super exciting. But now it's like a real project that has work to do, and I'm suddenly faced with like this growing list of books that I need to read and articles that I need to read and concepts that I need to learn and establish for myself and everything. And there are days where I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I can sit down before dinner right when I get off work and read a full chapter of a book and feel really good about what I did that day. And then there are days like today where I look at all of my academic reading and I think, no. And then I just go listen to David Bowie for 2 hours. And I think it's important to be gentle on yourself. And like you were saying, Tyler, like accept the fact that, you know, all of these things are a process and your ability to do them gets better the more that you do them. Like talking to some faculty this week about my topic, they're just instantly like rattling off names of books faster than I can write them down. And I have to remember like the reason they're doing that is because they've already like read all of these and they've already done all of this research, and they're keeping me from reading all the bad books that they read. And so like I'm having to like give myself a little bit of grace in that and like understand that this is part of the process. But yeah, it's interesting how new things can be both exciting and overwhelming at the same time. So then how did that factor into everybody's song picks this week? What were you guys looking for?
So with being gentle with yourself, I also get very kind of like, as it was kind of planned, I get pretty like frustrated when I'm like, I just want to do this correctly the first time. I just want it to come out. I always expect everything I do to be perfect the first time, which literally has never ever happened in my entire life of anything I've ever tried to do. So I don't know why after almost 30 years of existing that I've in some way just have somehow gained the ability to do something perfect the first time. Now, in this moment, no. So I have to kind of keep like my temperature low, you know? So I'm trying not to get things that are like too annoying, too like they're too have too much contrast in them, something that I can just kind of put on and it's gonna just kind of progress. And not necessarily I want it to be background music. I want it to be exciting. I want to have some, you know, like I want it to be meaty. I want it to be interesting. But I just don't need sun, right? I don't need ambient noise with guttural screeching or like, you know, or like stuff that's gonna like have certain parts that are just kind of annoying. Like I feel like every album kind of has like one song that just like has like a word or like a beat or like some kind of riff that kind of just really just kind of like gets at me, and I'm like, it's not that song. That's not the song I would ever put on. So I'm kind of looking for the more chill, the more mellow songs.
An interesting approach. I kind of agree with that. I was trying to find songs that both had like an initial momentum to them. I was really looking at like first songs from albums, because I feel like when you pick a good first song on an album and it really like sets the pace or the tone, that's kind of what I was looking for. But I also wanted something that, like you said, is kind of calming, something that has sort of like a warm blanket feeling, where it's like fairly comfortable and it's gonna like get you through that time, you know? And so I think that's kind of where I was going, like some propulsion, some movement, but also like something that feels comfortable, something to fall back on.
I often feel like I run into creative block, so I try and find things that are accessible, and that's kind of how I ended up picking my pick without really going into it much further until we get to my pick. Is that, I don't know, does that strategy kind of make sense, or does that seem really stupid?
No, I think that's fair. Sometimes like first thought, best thought is a good way to go. Do you want to go first then, Sean, since you have some stuff to elaborate on?
So this week I chose Gwen Stefani. What do you know? I'm just kidding. Just playing. I chose.
I was ready for it. I was ready.
I chose Andy Schaaf, Living Room.
She says it's funny that you ask. Today I had a strange experience. I remembered once when I was a girl, my father came home late from work.
The reason that I chose this song is I think I heard it a few weeks ago, like right as we were going into lockdown, and the past year, probably more so in the past 3 or 4 months, I've been really trying hard to like write music again. I think about how productive I was, even though it was really naive, my freshman year of college, and I kind of like have a positive memory on the output of that time for myself musically. And now that it's almost been, it's been like 12 years since then. I'm trying to find that again, find a place where I can be creative and like what I'm making. Not that I didn't make things in between that time. Just like holistically when that came out, I was really pleased with it. And one of the things that I kind of always find myself thinking about when I write music is that why don't my songs sound as good as everybody who I idolize, right? Like, how come I can't make a Kevin Parker Tame Impala banger? Like, how come I can't produce these wonderful masterworks, Is it because I don't have the right gear? Is it because I'm just blah, blah, this or blah, 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 that? And every once in a while, I'll kind of come across a song that I'll kind of put it in my, lack of a better word, like my pocket, to remind myself that lyrically you can write a really simple song that's like really everyday and really kind of generic. And you just can add some simple backing tracks in the back, and it creates this like really awesome atmosphere that's just like really beautiful and inspiring. And sometimes that's kind of what I need to get started, is almost like a push, just to remind myself that it doesn't have to be an Anthony Green style, like Circa Survive lyric, that you can really just write about something how you feel or an experience. Or I know earlier on the podcast we talked about Tom's Diner. Like that's another example of just like a song that you can listen to and be like, wow, it doesn't have to be like so deep, and like it can be observational, and there's almost something that's like really beautiful about that quality in this song that's really great. I posted the music video, the whole music video for What Are You Waiting For by Gwen Stefani in our secret channel, to talk about the beginning. Kind of whenever I'm in writer's block, I think about this particular opening scene where Gwen is like sitting in front of a piano and getting frustrated and just kind of pandering along the time. And then she finds like the inspiration inside of a little rabbit that has a little teetering head on a desk. I feel like that. And sometimes when I think about that scene and I think about songs like this, it's a good reminder to myself that you don't have to make something that's just like, world-changing Hans Zimmer kind of, emotionally raucous piece of music, that you can kind of just have a good time, sing a story, sing a song. And even if it's a cover, as long as it connects with you, I feel like your heart will be felt, and you'll be able to communicate the message that you're trying to communicate. And this was a really good example of that.
So when you first put this into our super secret channel, I was concerned and confused. And what it really took to like push me on this was reading the editor's note on Apple Music for this album, because this song felt very, like you said, very observational, very like specific, I guess. And so I read this, and I I saw where you were coming from as soon as I read this, because it is that like kind of observational creativity that I can tell that you're kind of working on with your photography and everything. I'll just read the first few lines of this. It says, "The elevator pitch for Andy Schaaf's fourth proper album sounds like the opening line to some hack comedian's routine. A guy walks into a bar. But from that simple premise, the Toronto via Saskatchewan indie rock raconteur welcomes us into a detail-rich universe centered around a sad sack barfly drinking away the bittersweet memories of an ex at his local until she just happens to turn up." I love how like humdrum yet detailed and interesting that is as a concept album premise. And further in the description, it like breaks down each song and what part of the story of this night each song is individually telling. And this just felt very you to me. It felt like if Sean were going to write a concept album, it would be this kind of understated guitar and piano and a little bit of woodwinds and like talking about a hyper specific evening kind of thing. Like, I feel like you totally have this kind of observational mindset and you could totally create something in this space. And I really, really like this. I'm going to listen to this whole album. I think Andy Schaaf has a really interesting voice and really cool phrasing in the way he sings. Like, he puts pauses in places where I wouldn't expect them, which I really like. The just subtle little bits of saxophone and clarinet really help to add texture here, because I do think it would get a little monotonous without them. But this is a really interesting little song and clearly a chapter out of a larger work. And so I want to listen to the whole thing and get the context and learn the story.
Oh, Taylor, you're so good at this. Which also to say, God, I just love that Apple Music is able to just have any editorialization at all.
It's truly the best feature they have.
So it seems like such a nice feature. Like, seemingly they have it for, I feel like, just about anything that you actually like look up. Right? Like, I'm sure there's stuff that's like out in the void that...
Oh yeah, every artist has at least 300 words of bio, if not more.
Right. Boy, I sure wish people would subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/NoRepeatPod so that someone could also buy me an Apple Music subscription in addition to my Spotify one, because I'm not having to. But anyway, so I think that gives a good perspective, I think, on this song, because I think I listened to this, I took a walk, I took a literal 30-minute walk, and I listened to all of our songs like 10 times. And I gotta like figure out a better way to like to get to the core of like what is the interesting part of it. And I feel like the genius moment always kind of comes more like when we explain it here, which is difficult for me to find the words as we're kind of doing it live, right? But I mean, I feel like this song I was like, okay, I like that it's very smooth. It doesn't have a lot of rough edges to it. You know, like Taylor said, the saxophone and the clarinet, if those are the instruments, I don't know. I appreciate, because I could not grasp out of my brain what instruments they could be. I realized they were woodwind of some kind. I failed band. I'm sorry. I do think those are really nice, and I kind of love the jazz like drumming. It's very, very light. Very. If that had like a little bit of brush sticks, also would be good. Does it have brushes on there? Does that brushes? Do I hear brushes? Or am I making that up?
Sean, resident percussionist, are those brushes or sticks?
Maybe one's a stick, one's a brush?
No, he's just sticks. He probably has he might have like a ride that has rivets in it. I don't think so though. I think it's just a really resonant, like light ride. Because it doesn't like fizzle away, which is a rivet ride kind of thing.
But either way, it's very light, and I really enjoy really kind of soft drumming, like kind of like in like this more sort of like condensed kind of musical experience, right? I also loved a little bit of piano. There's a lot of just kind of sprinkles. It's like a finely made pizza, evenly distributed. So while I feel like it didn't really strike me like this would be a song I would listen to, like, oh, that was nice. But I think the context that Taylor kind of brought to it kind of made it feel like a little bit more, and it kind of makes me want to kind of explore it for more than just for this challenge. So I think it definitely works for this challenge, because I would listen to this while I was working on something. But I'm also kind of interested in hearing more of this.
All right, well, I suppose I'll go next, if that's all right.
Okay.
This week I chose This Time I'm Gonna Try It My Way by DJ Shadow.
This time, I'm gonna try it my way. I'm gonna live like my way.
So I mentioned earlier that I was looking for kind of that warm blanket feeling, and the vocal on this song, the first time I heard it, it just felt like I had known this song my whole life. Like, it has this kind of 60s soul or Motown crooning quality to it that just feels so familiar. It just feels classic. And I think the thing that kind of takes this and elevates it, of course, is Shadow's production. Those breakbeat drums really propel this forward in the way that otherwise it would just be kind of a bland Motown ripoff. The kind of clean, crisp electric guitar, I'm sure Sean could tell me what kind of amp or what guitar it is that's doing that, but it has such a nice classic sound to it. It's very warm, it's very pleasant. And I think that's really why I like this track, is it has a little hip-hop sensibility, a little bit of funk energy, but it's ultimately just kind of a classic sound. It's a very updated take on a traditional kind of song. And when I'm starting new things, that's kind of the space I want to play in. I want to like go back to the classics and be comforted and feel like I'm in my comfort zone and I'm ready to take on the world.
It's interesting that you say that, because that your creative process starts with taking on the world, because mine is very much like taking on myself. And this is a really good taking on the world song. I really like this song a lot. I don't have any problem with DJ Shadow at all, so this is already kind of like right up there. But you also know that I have a very lovely persuasion positively towards the Las Vegas-y crooner kind of robbing the casino soundtrack, Ocean's 13 style, you know. So this has a lot going on for it that I really like, that Mad Men-esque kind of feel that DJ Shadow is so famous for. Yeah. I didn't know that you kind of see it as taking on the world. That's an interesting psychological insight there.
Yeah, I think I always kind of like committing to the thing, like getting myself over the hump of committing to the thing isn't that hard. It's getting the thing to a place where I'm like comfortable showing the world or telling the world about it that is like the hard part. Like I'll noodle around on something myself for months or years before I'm comfortable like unleashing it to anyone.
Do you say this was a sampled song? Or is this an original recording?
I don't know a whole lot about it, but I would guess it's a mix of sampled and original instruments.
Sure. I was just going to say, the vocal at least seems sampled. I don't know. So like Sean, I think I also thought this was really great. I literally said to myself, boy, I sure wish I knew what the song was so I could have picked it. Because this is kind of like in the wheelhouse that I've kind of been in some ways exploring. On our Patreon exclusive podcast, Billy Joe Armstrong's Middle School Notebook, we did talk about extensively about my analog journal. So I've been finding more artists that are kind of exploring like funk, like especially like drama funk. I think is pretty cool, which is kind of what Sean was kind of alluding to, sort of like heist music, and I think that's kind of cool. But I do like what about this is that it kind of takes that sort of format of that and kind of elongates it, puts like a contemporary skin on it, you know, makes it feel fresh, feel hip. And I think that's really, really all a lot of these genres kind of really need just in general is just kind of like a fresh coat of paint, just a little more contemporary sensibilities, a little bit, some different production. And they're already like award winners. So this song was a hit. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I watched the music video and I was like, this seems like a lot. And I don't know what the difference was between watching the music video and just listening to it, but I was like, I like the song much better just hearing it. Like for some reason I thought the vocals would be like frustrating, but they're very subdued. They're not very in your face, and I feel like in a way that like modern producing doesn't really do a lot. It feels like it's kind of in the background, right? Like it's not really, it doesn't feel like that's the most important thing. It feels like the composition is very well constructed, right? So I ended up really, really liking this one. And I guess just as a follow-up, is the rest of this album kind of like this? The Outsider?
Yeah, so The Outsider is probably the most vocal heavy of DJ Shadow's albums, and it all kind of is in this space. There's like some funk, some soul, some country and western influences here that ultimately made it one of his least successful albums, but I think it's one of the more interesting ones. So yeah, I would say this is probably a good place to look for you. All right, well, Tyler, what did you pick this week?
All right, this week I choose Jiun's Sunset by City Girl. I've been listening to City Girl for a pretty long time now. And I definitely say the album this kind of comes off of is probably my favorite of theirs. I think what I like most about their work is that it kind of takes the chill beat sort of format and just kind of puts some really nice, like, original recording, lots of original instrumentation on top of it. It's sort of like kind of like a mix between like a chill and like a chill beat and sort of like some like bedroom pop in a way, because it feels like it's just one person, the guitar, they're doing some like guitar or some drum samples. I think what's just really nice is it's just really very mellow. The guitar is just sort of just very soothing. It's very relaxing. There's like some subtle like wave sounds kind of in the background that I feel like add a little like nice kind of ASMR kind of vibe to it. The drum beat is kind of like get you a little hype on there, but it's not too much. I think that it gives you just a little bit of enough of a push to kind of keep you going. There's no vocals, so it doesn't really kind of get in the way of like kind of like your focus. You can just kind of listen to all these just sort of little blips and blops. Like it feels like there's like some like little synth in the back. There's a guitar up front. There's kind of like these drum beats just kind of sprinkled throughout. So it really just kind of has kind of always kind of keeps you interested in a way that I feel like chill beats kind of don't always do, because we've talked about them before on here where it just feels like it's the same thing over and over again. And I think it takes that format and kind of just makes it feel fresh and interesting to listen to on purpose.
I would agree with you.
This sounds a little hot and heavy for an inspiration song.
Ooh, Tyler's getting some
This is kind of
sexy
This is kind of a hot
inspiration.
song.
A hot song.
This is
Get a little
hot man
sensual.
song
A hot
going on here right
song.
now. I don't have a problem with this song, but I'm just saying, I don't know where you go for your creative stuff, but I don't know if it's like children age appropriate graphic design. It might be some of that,
Hey man, don't question the process.
What?
some of that, yeah, I mean, whatever it takes. I know what you're into, you know, your anime thing and that sexist stuff.
What is happening?
Well, like, yeah,
What is-
man. I mean,
what
it
is-
gets
what
you,
is this
whatever
hot-
gets you loose, you know.
Hold on.
Some of us need to, you know, feel like the world's on their side. Others of us need to get over some writer's block. But man, you maybe got a blockage of something else that you need to let out. This is some stuff right here,
What?
man. This is some stuff.
I have never once thought of the song as hot and heavy, as like baby making music. This is. I have never once.
This is slow
is-
dance. This is some.
This
this
is for
some
babies.
Tyler
This
Reed
is
slow
for
dance
baby
music
time.
right here.
Yeah, this has some end of a romantic dinner vibes, I would say. But all joking aside, let's talk about the song. I think, like you said, it's definitely taking the quote unquote chill beat format and elevating it. I like the little sprinkles of additional instrumentation throughout here.
Some rose petals.
Just yes, the rose petals. Just that little bit of, like you said, ocean noise. There's some mallet instruments that appear and play the main melody at different points, which I like a little bit of marimba or xylophone at different places. I do think that the main guitar part gets a little samey, but that's fine. I mean, it's a part of the genre.
Some deep repetitive motion.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're doing some kind of repetitive motion, it would be helpful. But like you said, I think it has drive. I think it has variation. I think it's got a lot of good things going for it.
Is this what I should have picked for the romantic dinner song? Is this what you're trying to tell me right now, Sean?
I mean, it's working. It's working for me. I'm a little bothered.
All right. Well, you got the soundtrack for your.
He's got his sparkling water and he is bothered.
I have to go take a cold shower now. This is a great song. It's way better than the band that you got on your shirt right now.
Oh, you're right.
I feel like you might have picked something off of this album before too, because I feel like I've seen this YouTube cover art before.
It was a Dude's Brunch topic. I think it was one of my picks.
Okay. Someone's got a type. Red hair balcony looking on with the cat. Just saying.
She has everything that Tyler loves. Anime hair, a sick 90s choker, and a cat.
Oh, no. I've been seen. Oh, no.
Oh, you broke me on that one. All right, and with that bombshell, let's go on notable B-sides. These were songs that were so close to... Well, they're still going to get you creative. They're just not going to be your first play for creativity. Anybody got some notable B-sides?
All right, just so we can just, we can all laugh a little bit. Age of Consent by New Order.
Ooh, I'm not going to psychoanalyze that pick. Okay.
I just like New Order.
He's gonna pick like "Don't Stand Too Close to Me" by The Police too. That's gonna be one of his other songs.
Yeah. I had "New Feeling" by Talking Heads, "Capable of Anything" by Ben Folds, "Give a Little" by Maggie Rogers, and then for when you're feeling truly like taking on the world with your creativity, "Call to Arms" by Angels and Airwaves.
Woo!
All right.
Who would have thought Angels and Airwaves would have even been a mention on this podcast? It's okay, Valkyrie Missile will be on here someday.
Those first two albums are pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they stopped being a band. Isn't that great? They never made anything again, and especially not a weird, misguided 2-part rock opera.
Spider-Man?
Don't drag Bono's name like that.
Hey, Into the Spider-Verse was good. Is that what we're talking about?
No, this is the Spider-Man the musical.
Spider-Man Turn Out the Lights, the Broadway show that you two did the music for, that they had to cancel because so many people died.
Excuse me? All right, well, this is for another time. This is not for this is what you pay in a Patreon. This is pay $1 a month for. You can hear more dumb stuff like this on Billy Joe Armstrong's Middle School Emotions.
We'll bring that up. We'll bring that up and act right. Taylor seems legitimately upset by this, so Gwen Stefani, what are you waiting for? We'll go there. I also listened to a lot of oh man, if I was going to just name a song by Kurt Vile, probably Loading Zones. It's another one of those like songs that's just about somebody doing something, particularly being a badass and parking in the no parking zones. It's just like such an interesting song.
Didn't Jerry pick that one?
And then
I'm pretty sure Loading Zones are on here. But Sean's saying Loading Zones, good enough for 2 songs. 2 picks.
And then, oh man, there was another one I was going to say, but now it's totally escaping me. Oh, probably like, you know what I've really been into lately? What song? Fortress by Queens of the Stone Age. I really have like a soft spot in my heart for Queens of the Stone Age and their songs that kind of like probe the modern psyche a little bit. And that one really does it for me. So I'm gonna go with that one as my third. I don't really have a lot of B-sides usually, but this one, what inspires you? I'm pretty good at assessing that.
Well, Tyler, if people want to see your creative output on the internet, where can they find that?
Hey everybody, you can find my design and illustration work at rootpets.club, and as always, you can find me on the socials as Rootpets Club on Instagram and Twitter.
Sean, if people want to see the results of your 30-day photo challenge, where can they do that?
Oh, they'll have to wait for about another 20 odd days or so, but they can find me on Instagram at Sean_Adelray.
And if you want to talk to me about academic articles about fandom, you can find me on the socials at TC Olmstead, or just talk to me about David Bowie or something. That'll be fine. And we'll be back here next week with another episode of No Repeat.